We're here at SiGMA that has resumed after a 2-year absence due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're talking to industry experts, AE business advisors and Exacta Solutions. So over the past 2 years, we've seen some people leave Malta and return to their home country due to the pandemic. As recruiters, how are you dealing with this challenge locally?
So yes, indeed, during the pandemic, there was a bit of an exodus from Malta because obviously people went back to their homes for many reasons, as we know. But obviously after that, we gradually started seeing things getting back to normal. People coming back, they enjoy now coming back and saying, this is better than my home country sometimes. And it's a mix. It's a mix. Some people are working from home. Some companies kept that. Remote working is a new reality now. So it's a mix, as I said, it's a little bit mix of everything. But as we've seen even in this conference, we've seen a big influx of people again coming to Malta, which makes Malta again a center for this industry, which has been a sigh of relief.
So how do you feel that the Maltese iGaming license is positioned in comparison to international licenses?
Well, we were the first in Europe to develop a regulatory regime. When all the other countries in Europe are saying, no, we have a monopoly, only one monopoly player can offer gaming services to our citizens. We said, hey, we just joined the European Union, let's try something out. And we created a regulatory regime, the licensing regime, online gaming, for .coms, and we got into all of the EU, 500 million citizens. Now, 10, 12, 15 years later, everybody's saying, hey, wait, if you can't beat the Maltese, join them. And each of these countries has their own regime which regulates providing services there. So, to answer the famous TikTok question, which is the most powerful passport, we don't penetrate 128 countries anymore because there are countries which have their own regime which stop us. It has to be theirs. But we're still great for Latin America, for South Africa, for North Africa, for any country that wants to start a process of multi-jurisdictional regime. You start with Malta. This is where the expertise is. This is where the recruiters like Exacta are. This is where the experts like Michael from AE are. This is where you come if you want to start clever. If you want to start smart, start in Malta.
What human resources does a licensee require to ensure that gaming license is compliant?
So way back in August 2018, the MGA revamped the whole licensing regime, and they introduced the concept of key function holders. So there are a number of roles, being internal audit, being legal, being the data protection officer, being a number of other roles, compliance, where the operator needs to fulfill these roles but with individuals to make sure that they guard the license and they follow all the rules and regulations within the industry. So this has created a demand for these roles even more, because we live in a world of compliance and anti-money laundering legislation. So this created pressure on the market, because there are only a number of pool of skilled employees that can fulfill these highly technical roles. So a couple of weeks ago now, the MGA also redefined a bit those roles. They consolidated a number of those roles, and they also introduced more onerous requirements in order for those roles to be filled up.
But the good thing is that at least the MGA, our regulator, has understood that recruiting 9 roles, they were more. They were about, how many were they before?
So
in B2B?
So for a B2B it was around 10, and in B2C it was around 15.
And now it's like 8 and 7, right?
Now it's something like that, yes.
But it's still tough. And the MGA has understood that at least in the short term, firms like AE will be allowed to provide backup support. So we would provide a compliance or a DPO or an internal audit, whilst they're waiting, however, to find the permanent resource that Exacta will be helping them find. This is why we're here today. The gaming practice that Michael leads and the HR recruitment practice, that's a business that Chris is leading, are working together ever more every day. We provide the short-term solution, these are looking for the long-term solution. But make no mistake, it's an employee's market. If you want to live a good life, come to Malta, right?
Indeed, Georg. I mean, Malta is a good place. It's always been attractive, and it's still attractive. I mean, in reality, you know, people come, people go, but you know, being in Malta, earning a, let's say, you know, 60k salary gives you a very decent lifestyle, and that is why, and it can be a very good starting point, and that's what we do at Exacta Solutions. We constantly look for people. We constantly put ourselves out there on the market to find the right people. It's an employees market, right? It's not an employer's market anymore like it used to be years back. It's an employees market where employees are very hard to find, and they, you know, sometimes even dictate the terms here. So, and that's our job. That's our job, to find the right people. You know, these guys, AE, will be there in the interim and find and fill the positions if need to for startups, for example, because they might find it harder to employ all these positions permanently. But then that's where we come in and find the right people for them.
And Chris, to add to what you said, what we found as well through our experience is that initially, for example, you don't find the right talent right away, being because, you know, there's no brand recognition yet. So from our end, when we fill in those roles, we actually offer training to the new recruits that would come on board with the operator. So that's, you know, for example, compliance. We would, you know, fill in the role initially, and then after a certain time, the operator would recruit his own people. We would train them and, you know, give them specific training in the industry to help them kind of, you know, fit in the role and have a smooth transition for the operator.
But that's a great point. If you're a startup and you have no brand recognition, I mean, you can be Betson and everybody wants to work for Betson. But if you're a startup with a great idea, nobody knows you, it's going to be tougher, right, for people to join?
Exactly. And that's why, you know, where you and us come in handy, because, you know, we are their arm. We outreach to the market, you know, and represent them, because obviously we have the network. We have a large network of people, of companies and employees. You know, ultimately companies are made of employees, right? So what we do is we know all those people and we bring them to the employers, to these startups, as you're saying, Georg, that, you know, don't necessarily know the market. They don't know what to pay. They don't know how the contracts work, and that's where, you know, why this synergy is also working so well.
So Michael, you're an iGaming license expert of many years. In your view, as Malta's jurisdiction places more emphasis on compliance, has this made business in Malta more bureaucratic?
So bureaucracy is not good for business, obviously. However, compliance and anti-money laundering legislation has become key to the success of any business. So you need to make sure that you have the right people taking care, guarding your license and basically keeping you out of trouble. So, you know, these roles and finding the right people is of utmost importance for the success of the business.
We say bureaucracy is bad, but going to jail is worse.
Indeed.